The bridge was built in 1910, so a fairly old facility.
And it was the street itself was a 2-lane street, and then when you get to the bridge, it narrowed down a lot, and there wasn't really any room for pedestrians or bikes, so it needed to be retrofitted, and it was old wooden railing, so it was time to be rebuilt. Chase Street Bridge, it's located downtown Sonoma, right off Broadway, Highway 12. It was a small footprint for a project, less than an acre, in between 4 residences, right on a city side street.
It wasn't the same width as the street on adjacent sides. It also wasn't accommodating the 100-year floodplain, and so there's a history of flooding in the city of Sonoma. And so the county, or the city, excuse me, had really identified it being a deficient bridge that was in need of replacement.
Caltrans does the city's bridge inspections, and so they were the ones that raised the red flag on it.
You know, it was just an old bridge. It was, you know, built with, you know, lead paint and old pressure-treated timbers, and just it wasn't sufficient.
It wasn't passing enough water through the creek. It's Nathanson Creek. And the creek had a little bit of a jog in it because they had to get through that one section of road.
The surrounding neighbors, garages were flooding, water was coming up onto the road, and somebody's...
You could see the water level on the garage of the most affected house, and that water level is going 2 to 3 feet up the garage on the person's residence. This bridge has been load rated for probably 10 to 15 years. Large trucks couldn't drive over the bridge. Underneath, and the structure itself seemed to be pretty well intact, but river scour can affect the footings and the columns and their ability to hold the bridge up and make it dangerous for large vehicles to drive by to where the bridge can't support the load.
The city could get the bridge replaced using federal funds and a match. So essentially the city was getting a new bridge for 11.5 cents on the dollar.
Assembling the team for a project like this, which that was my main responsibility, assembling the team is always, it's always a challenge. The first part of the team being the city of Sonoma, the second part of the team being Consor, the third part of the team being Ghirardelli, and then Granite. And there's your team. The contractor, they're the ones that you got to rely on to get the job done. And they're the ones that have the most knowledge of the issue and affect the job the most.
Building a job where you have a real firm deadline and there's a lot to do, the challenge is, the race to complete the work.
Working with the neighbors was challenging. Anytime you're building a bridge in somebody's front yard, it's a big deal. For 6 months, we're gonna take over your street. And for probably 2 or 3 months, we're gonna take over your front yard.
I've never done a project so close to residents and homes. So close that the contractor was putting their backhoe in the driveway 6 inches from the garage door.
We were looking for the bridge type that was as thin as was possible, so that we could provide the additional room underneath the bridge for hydraulics and for the creek, but then also had the least amount of thickness that we had to raise the road in the neighborhood.
The demo of the bridge, it sounds scarier than it is, I would say. We don't just show up with a wrecking ball and just start, right? We basically placed filter fabric on the bottom of the creek, right, to encapsulate anything that falls. Any contaminated materials were removed from the project, any of the lead-based paint. There was some asbestos, fabric lining the pipes. That was removed from the project. There were some pressure-treated timbers, right? Those had to be dealt with and disposed of in keeping with, the current requirements of the state.
Air monitors in the air, noise monitors in the air, and we took it down with a couple excavators and loaded it out.
The construction in the creek had to start on July 1st, and it had to finish by, I believe, October 15th. So that was a roughly 4-month work window to get all the construction in the creek done on the bridge. And one of the things that Granite did that was really spectacular was they poured all the footings for the bridge in one day with one concrete pump. And that was a huge task. That was 5 separate footings, 5 separate elevations for the footings. All the retaining walls and all of the bridge footings were all poured in one day. They had to work overtime, weekends.
You have to be fast and accurate, right? And you have to really be out in front and looking for the things that are going to prevent you from reaching, your end date that you need to hit.
As Granite was doing excavation during the job, they encountered a big well of water. They popped a hole in it and it flooded out the job site.
We weren't prepared for as much underground water in the middle of summer.
You don't have that kind of time on a project like this, especially with a bridge, right, where you're trying to come out of the ground and you're having these issues, and people have to be willing to hey, we need to jump on a call right now. We need to all come together and decide what we're gonna do, because if we stop or we get delayed, there's real problems, right?
Working together with the city, we came up with a solution, got some pumps in, and we moved the water, and it moved right along. No time loss.
Working with the city of Sonoma was an excellent experience. Mike Berger, who's the Public Works Director, was involved every step of the way, but gave us the ability to make decisions when we needed to make decisions, and it was just a great leadership all around.
Granite had to put a sewer line underneath the footings of the bridge.
Design was to take the sewer, bring it up to the bridge, have it dive down at 45 degrees, go underneath the footings, come up the other side, and then continue on.
The new water line is on the side of the bridge. It has seismic isolators so that if there is an earthquake and the bridge shifts, the water line should shift too and not break. It's a beautiful bridge.
They actually tried to consider the aesthetics, right? They tried to design a barrier that was nice.
Caltrans, as you know, designs bridges for highways, and this bridge had a highway component, and so just making a few changes to it at the very end, and the decorative metal railings at the ends of the bridges was one of the biggest ones that we made that it's way more appropriate for the neighborhood.
The design was to not back up water, and it flowed very well this year. Everybody's extremely happy with the water that moved through there. Last year, even with the big rain, they had no flooding problems. Oh, it's a beautiful bridge. The old bridge that was there, it was a wooden structure, and you changed elevation from the street to get up on the bridge to go across the bridge because of floodplain. What they were used to, the bang bang and the timber cracking and creaking and popping as you went across it every day. It's smooth.
Everybody just stepped up and stayed in their lanes, did their role, did their job, and we got along really well. Anytime there was a problem, we just got through it and worked together to get through it. Scott, Chris, Bonnie, everybody that was associated with Ghirardelli on the job did an excellent job. Granite, Scott, Lorne, Matt, just a really great job paying attention to the details and putting the effort in where it had to be put. The design team, just a great job. Quincy was in this for the long run. They ran the marathon to the point where they even got bought out by another company and became Consor. So that kind of shows the timeline that they were involved in this project. And Jason and Max, what a great job that they did working and just getting us the information that we needed to have in a timely fashion. The City of Sonoma's team, Oriana Hart was the project manager during the project, and she just did an excellent job doing everything to keep all the players in place and keep the project moving. And she was the main reason why the job got pushed out to bid and was successful in being built. You can't underestimate or forget to thank the Caltrans team and the FHWA Federal Highways team that worked on this job. That partnership to get this project to where it could be bid, I just can't say enough. And Mike Thompson as our representative, thanking him for being there when we needed a little bit of push and obviously as our advocate and representative to get the funding for the job. A bridge is a unique structure, and it basically is taking people over some otherwise non-traversable path, and a creek, a canyon, and it brings communities together.
Thank you, Northern California Engineering Contractors Association, for hosting Public Officials Night. I wish I could be with you in person today, but work has me in Washington, D.C. for legislative business. Congratulations to the City of Sonoma for being recognized with the Bridge Award. And congratulations to Calvin Tallman of Granite Construction for being recognized with a Hard Hat Award tonight. Your contributions to the Chase Street Bridge Replacement Project were invaluable. Thanks to your work, our community has a new, upgraded bridge that ensures drivers, bicyclists, and pedestrians can travel safely. This milestone marks the biggest project involving federal funding that our city has ever completed. I was glad to help secure federal funding for this project. It's an important one. And a huge thank you to each of you here tonight for your work supporting safe infrastructure in our community. The ECA has been the voice of engineering construction for over 50 years. Since 1976, ECA has advanced local workforce development and local infrastructure projects in our community. Thank you for all that you do to support our local contractors and build better infrastructure for our friends, families, and neighbors. I look forward to continuing to work together to provide opportunities for our local workforce and to build a better future. Thank you all very much.